We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. By the time you hear this on the podcast, it will be Wednesday, but I'm recording it Tuesday night on Substack Live. It's been a little bit since I've been here, so I wanted to get back. A lot of great folks on Substack, so I get a lot of good input, a lot of good questions, comments, those sorts of things, and those are absolutely essential in order to do a live like this. Just me talking off the top of my head for an hour. That's a little dull. So we do need your input. Of course, we've got some interesting things going on. It just gets weirder and weirder every day. We understand now that Kash Patel is maybe on the chopping block. He's on thin ice with Donald Trump. It's weird to me because Donald Trump always told us he hired only the best people. Now, Kash Patel has a problem in that he never worked with the FBI, so he doesn't know what he's doing, and clearly, from his behavior, he proves that every day. But there's plenty of reasons to get rid of Kash Patel. First of all, he's the one that bragged about a case online before the case actually happened. Then, of course, he ruined the case. There's the fact that he frequently takes FBI airplanes as transportation on his dates. He also assembled a SWAT team to protect his girlfriend. And then, of course, all the other fuck-ups with regards to the Jeffrey Epstein things. So we're hearing that by the end of the year, Kash Patel may be fired. And that's pretty imminent when you think the end of the year is next month. Fucking next month. So we'll see if that actually happened. But I don't think he's the only one that has an issue at this point. Pam Bondi's got some problems, too, again, with the Epstein files. But she had these recent cases, these two cases, where they were attempting to prosecute James Comey and Letitia James. They took it to normal prosecutors initially. They said, yeah, there's nothing here. We're not doing that. So they fired them, brought in this bimbo prosecutor, non-prosecutor, Lindsay Halligan, and she took it to the grand jury. He got an indictment, but before they could even go to trial, they were dismissed. And the reason they were dismissed was because Lindsay Halligan wasn't appointed properly or legally. So James Comey's done. His statute of limitations has run out. There's not much they can do to him now. Letitia James' court case has been dismissed as well. But now, in order to try to save that, Pam Bondi filed some documentations that she categorically lied on or changed the timeline in order to save these prosecutions. So she flat out lied to a federal judge, tried to get that by. The federal judge recognized it immediately because he's really smart. And of course, Pam Bondi is really fucking dumb. So that didn't work. And you've got the whole Epstein files thing. She's going to be the one that's going to have to release it at that 30-day point. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of game she plays and what the fuck is going on. If we get to see the files, or are we just going to see a fraction of the files? Are they going to try to find out ways to avoid releasing the files? I don't know. But Pam Bondi's under a lot of pressure right now. And she's not serving Donald Trump well because in Donald Trump's mind, she should be able to shield him from this completely. She can, of course, but he thinks everybody should do whatever they have to do to protect him, and she has no way of protecting him. So he or she could be gone sometime in the not-so-distant future. And then we got Pete Hegseth. This is the one I find so ironic. They just tried to James Comey and Letitia James. They got embarrassed. They got blown out. They got dismissed. So after doing that, I mean, common sense would tell you, hey, don't do that again. But that's exactly what they're doing again. And they're now going after Mark Kelly, the senator, the war hero, the former astronaut. They're going after him. They want Pete Hegseth to recall him and try to kick him out of the service. Um, the problem is Mark Kelly didn't do anything but essentially read what the code of conduct said. There was no negative things about it. It just got under Donald Trump's skin, and he wants to fight back. And again, it won't work, and it'll be stupid, and then somebody will have to be blamed. And of course, that will be Hegseth, and he will ultimately get fired. Everything's kind of falling apart here for Donald Trump. Nothing is working. He doesn't look well. So we may be at that point in time where we're going to start seeing the spiraling speed up and ultimately a crash. Jose says, "How about Hegseth in Puerto Rico today?" I hadn't heard that. I only heard about what he was trying to do with Mark Kelly. Enlighten us about the trip to Puerto Rico. And does Hegseth realize that's part of the U.S., or does he think he's going to a foreign country? Was he surprised he didn't need a passport? Did you hear about the Colorado governor, Jared Polis, is considering releasing Tina Peters, one of the fake elector crooks for the Trump administration's custody? He's getting a lot of hate. Well, it wouldn't surprise me if they released her. I mean, frankly, they released over 1,000 J6ers, so fuck, they're going to release everybody. At this point, we really can't worry about it too much. I mean, everything they do is an attempt to scare us, make us nervous, own the libtards, make us upset. Fuck it, who cares at this point? This whole country is a shit show right now, and the only thing we can do is push hard as we can to the end, and then try to figure out how to clean things up after it's all said and done. That's really all we can do at this point. It's gone too far. And as I've said before, I thought the Republicans would step up and push back, and they are starting to now, but I thought it would happen much more quickly than it did. The Republicans have shown that it takes a lot for them to get upset, like overturning democracy, the economy shutting down, grabbing citizens off the street and deporting them to foreign countries. That apparently didn't bother them. But right now, with the Epstein files and some of the other shit going on, they have problems with Donald Trump, and they're starting to push back. Not enough, but they're starting to do some of that. Jose says, I guess he went down there on business. What kind of fucking business is Hegseth doing? He doesn't know anything about his job. And what kind of business do we have in Puerto Rico? Spacer says, the thing is, Jared Polis is a Democrat, and I'm not 100% sure, but he's running for senator of Colorado. See how that turns out, LOL. The fact of the matter is she was convicted by a jury of her peers. She was guilty of it. She would love to be pardoned by Donald Trump, but he can't because it's a state crime, a state conviction. So now they're pressuring the governor to release her. If this governor is a Democrat, truly a Democrat, and thinks he might be able to get some Republican buddies or votes if he releases her, oh, he's a special kind of stupid. This is not the time to be siding with Donald Trump. These people, even the Republicans who supported Donald Trump at one point, have had probably enough of Donald Trump. So 2026 is not going to be a good year to try to buddy up with Donald Trump. Vincent says quite a few J6 people got caught with other crimes and are heading back to prison. That's true. I think one even ended up dead. And I'm not feeling bad about it. Now, you'll see a lot of these people end up going back to jail because prior to their J6 fame or infamy, they were fucking criminals, dirtballs, and pieces of shit at the heart. They'll come out of there, they'll get out of jail, they'll do something else, and they'll go back. They were all probably in jail before they ever got sent to jail for the J6 thing. So it wouldn't surprise me that they are going to get caught for something else. In fact, I expect it. The problem is by letting them out, they just pretty much hand them carte blanche to reoffend and hurt other people. That's Donald Trump for you. Jose says they're using the island as a military base. What, a hopping point so they can go bomb Venezuela or the fishing boats in the ocean? Probably. That's probably what it is. Um, Spacer said these people are a special kind of shit. Heard the Tom Wow guy is running for Congress in Texas. Not sure who that is. Um, ShamWow guy. Are you serious? The guy that was on the commercials, the dirt ball that got in all kinds of trouble and then got kicked off the commercial? That guy's running for Congress? Wow. I suppose they looked at Donald Trump and they said, if that motherfucker can win an election, anybody can. He is a scumbag. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you could tell it in his commercial. He was a dirtbag. He was the kind of guy that you didn't want to um, interact with. Will says perfect Republican candidate. Yeah, if you're a Republican candidate and you have a criminal record, you're a little grimy, and you have a history of interacting with girls underage, you're a prime prospect to be a elected official in the Republican Party. TJ the plumber says ShamWow guy is just as bad as the pillow guy. The only thing about the ShamWow guy, he doesn't own the company. Not only did Mike Lindell, the pillow guy, destroy himself, he destroyed a fairly successful company. So ShamWow's got a lot of work to do to catch up with Mike Lindell. What do you think about the talk about Republican congressmen leaving House early? You know, that's something I predicted a while back, especially after Marjorie Taylor Greene left. But we've been seeing a lot of people over the last couple of years retiring or planning to resign, and this was not unexpected. Now we're hearing that there might be a glut of people resigning and not waiting till the election day, but doing it before the election day. And part of the thing they're talking about is that they hate how things are running. They hate how they're being treated by Mike Johnson and Donald Trump, and they're just tired of it. When Marjorie Taylor Greene or somebody else out there decides to resign before the end of their term, they're making a statement. They're saying, fuck you, Republicans, fuck you, Mike Johnson. Now, if there is a glut of these people and a lot of these Republicans leaving, of course, you'll have to have special elections and all that sort of stuff. But until that time, it's empty. And that changes the whole landscape of the House. You get enough people doing this, they will lose power of the House. And it's conceivable that the Democrats will get it, and Hakeem Jeffries will be likely the Speaker of the House. So we could be looking at a shift in the House before the 2026 elections. And these people who are deciding to resign and retire are doing it for that specific purpose, not only to get out from under it for themselves, but to shove it in the face of the Republicans. Um, for someone who hammers about getting trade deals, he doesn't go to the G20 summit to try to get them from world leaders. Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, what has he done? Have we seen the bailout for the farmers as yet? Have we seen the $5,000 from the Doge savings? Doge has been dismantled. We don't even know what's going on there. They don't either. Are we getting the 2,000 from the tariffs? No, we're not. Ron, what's his name? Guy from Wisconsin. His name is Ron, and he's a dipshit. He's a Trump humper, and he said, "Yeah, we can't do that because we can't afford that sort of thing. So don't expect the 2,000." Donald Trump, great about talking about doing things. It's actually doing things is where he has the trouble. That Tennessee race is heating up. Republicans are nail biting. This may push Republicans far beyond impeaching Trump if they lose this race. Yeah. Oh, that's the other thing. I think there are Republicans out there that are seriously looking at impeaching Donald Trump, and I wouldn't be surprised as more and more comes out about the Epstein files and continued fuck ups, continued war crimes like down in Venezuela. He goes in and attacks Venezuela. You might see Republicans reacting badly toward Donald Trump. The RNC is panicking over the Tennessee special election. The Dem may win at Karma. Vincent said, Will's here. Yeah, Will's here. You can always count on Will showing up. Will was on the show recently. Everybody looks to hear from Will. Very passionate guy, knows his shit. That's why I like having him on the show. Will's here hoping a steady recovery for your wife. Well, I didn't know your wife was sick. Maybe you mentioned it in the podcast. But if your wife is ill, yeah, best wishes, and let's get her better as quickly as possible. You know, I get a lot of people coming to my page and they're saying it really kind of seems like the spiraling is starting, and we may be looking potentially at the end of all this bullshit. And I think you're right. I always thought it would come, but I didn't think it would take this long. But I think we're in the end game here. There's really no way out for Donald Trump in this situation, nor is there any way out for anybody in his cabinet. They're going to be in for some trouble. There will be some retribution. There will be a reckoning. Donald Trump may or may not have some immunity. I think a lot of people think Donald Trump is completely immune from everything. He's not. He's not immune from everything. And especially if he's not in power and the DOJ is run by normal people, Donald Trump is not without an opportunity to get indicted. See here. Things are also failing with this Texas redistricting. The judge have had enough. Yeah, so the judge there said you can't redistrict. California did it right, so they are still redistricting. That's in your face to Republicans. But now they want to take it to the Supreme Court. I don't know why the Supreme Court would have any jurisdiction over that, but the Supreme Court has done some fucked up shit. We don't really know what they'll do in this case. It's pretty clear. The redistricting thing is pretty clear in how it should be done. They did it nowhere near that. So it should be denied. I was a little surprised by the Supreme Court agreeing to hear it. So who knows what the fuck they're going to do. Pam Bondi is looking like she's rode hard and put away wet. Yeah, she does. She always did, though. You know, she's one of those people that look like might have been attractive at one time years ago, but a hard life has kind of diminished her appearance. She does look like she's been ridden hard and put away wet. I'm so glad that James Comey indictment didn't go through. Lindsay Halligan is the worst fucking lawyer. Well, she's not even the appropriate lawyer. I did hear Carolyn Levitt say that they were thinking of appealing. I don't know where they appeal something like that too, but it's a pretty clear case. So go ahead and appeal it, and you'll still fucking lose. I don't think the Supreme Court will hear the case. The case about, well, okay, yeah, you're right. I have to clarify what the Supreme Court did. They put a temporary hold on it. They didn't say they were going to hear the case, but they could have just said, we're not going to hear it. They did put a stumbling block there by saying what they did. I would hope they wouldn't hear it. That would be stupid. Would not be a smart thing for them to do. Yeah, Will says, John Mitchell says, hi, Pam. What he's referring to is the possibility, likelihood of Pam Bondi ultimately going to jail. And John Mitchell is a former attorney general under Richard Nixon. the only attorney general that did actually go to jail. So it is possible. You can be the attorney general, and if you fuck up, much like Pam Bondi has, there's an excellent shot that you will go to jail. Um, He'll get a kick out of this. Ramaswamy gave his plan for childcare if he's Ohio's governor. Um, what does he propose? Just keep the kids in school longer. 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. instead of 3 p.m., despite the fact that he's being hacked by people who want to end public schooling in Ohio on that level. Well, that's a typical Republican idea. It's a half-ass idea. It won't work. What does that do for all the kids, all the little kids, toddlers, and the infants that aren't in school? You got to ship them off to a middle school and let them stay there until mom and dad get done with work? Fucking please. All right, let's see here. The Maple MAGA and Conservative Party losing their minds on Mark Carney. Comment on U.S. trade talk. Carney says, I don't care. Now, the fact of the matter is somebody like him should care, but it does no good to care in this situation. You're dealing with uh, a dipshit who doesn't know what he's doing. And even if he tells you something, you don't know if he's going to hold to it or not. So he doesn't care, and I can understand that because there's nothing to care about. Um, TJ the Plumber says James Comey made the DOJ look like fucking clowns. They absolutely did. And, we all knew this was going to happen. She wasn't appointed properly. This is malicious prosecution. If they didn't get her for this prosecutor, they would have got it kicked out for some other thing. This DOJ is run by incompetence, and they can't accomplish anything. I mean, for fuck's sake, didn't the sandwich guy out east get cut free too? Even though he hit him with that dastardly Subway sandwich, and that ICE officer said, "I could smell the mustard and the onions." Oh my God, the humanity! Poor fucking pussy ass bitch. Uh, First female attorney general to go to jail. There's always a first time. You're absolutely right. Pam will definitely be in jail in 2029. I think that's a fair bet. You think Schumer is done as minority leader? I think so, and I hope so. And I think getting rid of him and maybe even Hakeem Jeffries is absolutely necessary for the Democratic Party. Everybody talks about the narrative and how Democrats don't like the Democratic Party because they're weak. They're an establishment. How do we change the narrative? Well, there's one good way to change the narrative. Get rid of Schumer, get rid of Hakeem Jeffries, and put fighters in there. Then the people that support the Democrats will be more on board if it looks like you're fucking doing something to fix the mess you created. Over and above the Republicans putting us in this situation, you've been barely a stumbling block to the DNC. That needs to change. You need to fight on their level. Let's see. Vincent, I heard J.D. Vance is somewhat campaigning for Polivet. Mark Carney is owning him, though, since he weaseled his way back into Parliament. Yeah. I heard Cuomo wants to now go for Schumer's seat in 2028. Yeah, that'll work. He didn't come close in the mayor's race. He got kicked out of the government. You know what? I think somebody needs to say, Cuomo, you're past your expiration date. Why don't you go do a fucking podcast or something? Because you ain't going to be an elected official ever again. You can't abuse and assault and harass women and continue to get voted in. It's just not going to work in this day and age. Will said Halligan lied to the court. Yeah, that's the interesting thing. When she was trying to cover up for the mess that she made, the stupidity that ensued, he did create some documents that were a flat out lie. Now, in most situations, that would be a problem. Maybe disbarment, maybe prosecution. Given that she runs the DOJ, I doubt anything like that's going to happen. Well, she could get disbarred. That's possible because that's kind of a separated entity. But she did, in fact, lie. And if you're a lawyer, the last thing you would feel comfortable to do is lie to a federal judge, for fuck's sake. That's dumb as hell. Vincent J.D. Vance jumped on the bandwagon of attacking Canada, saying our living standards is going down with a graph from 2016. Canada living standards are better than the U.S. I'll take Canada over America any day. I will too. I will take almost any country, that's similar in size or in economic levels. Norway, Sweden, those are all good places too. Even England seems like it might be better than the United States at this point. Uh, Mark Kelly should go after the DUI boy for the bombings in Venezuela. Well, I think when things start to change around in Congress, we're going to see a lot of people going after Hegseth and Bondi and Kash Patel and Marco Rubio and all these dumb fucks. I also saw that I also saw that 8 Democratic senators are dissenting against Senators Schumer and Kirsten Gillibrand, both from New York, and saying they are rigging Democratic primaries. Yeah, there's some Democrats getting together and they call it the Democratic Fight Club. I don't know that it's really about fighting. It's about going after Chuck Schumer. There's going to be people gunning for him. It's not going to be an easy thing for him like it always has been up to this point. It's going to be much more difficult. What's going on with the ballroom? Was Trump sued? I did hear that he was sued. Um, I don't know what's going on with the ballroom. I don't know where he's getting money. All I can go back to is what I always go back to, and that is um, that is he'll fuck up every time. That ballroom, I'll be surprised if it gets built. It'll take too long. Donald Trump will be gone, and they'll figure something else out. I don't think the ballroom will get built. There's going to be hurdles. There's going to be lawsuits, which means delays. And Donnie just doesn't have that kind of time at this point. And TJ says it's being built by scabs. Yeah, that's what we understand this. It's ironic that this ballroom, this $300 million ballroom, being built by non-union labor. Good move, Donnie. But it might as well be non-union labor, TJ, because they ain't going to get paid anyway. So you do that, and too fucking bad. Will on their vacation time and their maternity and paternity leave. I'm thinking about a move to Iceland after my graduate tenure is done. Seems like those Scandinavian countries have it somewhat together, not buying into the far right drama with the rest of the EU. Uh, yeah, my wife has been desperate to go to Iceland. I'd like to go to Iceland too. It's not as strong a pull to me. I'd like to go to Europe, and I particularly like the idea of going to Ireland. Never been there. Everything I've heard about Ireland, it's an amazing place. So yeah, I'd like to go. To the audience, odds on Trump making it to New Year's, I'm saying 60% alive to 40% Grim Reaper. Jose says, don't those construction workers in the White House need some sort of a security clearance or something or a background check? You would think so under normal circumstances they would, but do you think in this particular case they have any security clearance? Hell, fucking Jared Kushner can't get security clearance, so they probably don't. Will, sadly, I think he will make it. I am thinking he won't make it until next Easter, though. Yeah, it's a lot of people are making predictions as to um, when Donald Trump will keel over on a Big Mac or shit himself to death or whatever the fuck. Um, we still have our fingers crossed for Ed, who's regularly on the program. Ed's on the program, and he says a while back that he thought Donald Trump would go down in flames mortally before Thanksgiving. Well, Thursday's Thanksgiving. We're getting kind of close. I'm going to talk to him Friday. We are going to either talk about how he is absolutely a prophet or how he got it wrong and what his next thoughts were. Hopefully, I'll be talking to him on the podcast on Saturday. Let's see here. Ireland elected a strong female leader. If Trump's still in office, if Trump's still in office and he visits Ireland during at St. Patrick's Day next year, she'll own him. He won't. He wouldn't go there. Hodiner says was showing a picture from back. Um, hold on, keeps moving on me. Showing a picture from back in the July, showing Melania with a big hat, not showing her face. Think the meeting was with British royals. She is never in D.C. and shows her disdain for Trump. That is another angle to rattle him. Send DoorDash to 1600 Pennsylvania. Yeah, something with a lot of grease and a lot of cholesterol. Um, 8 ball of cocaine will land you a construction job on that team. Kidding, but that seems to be the way it works. Yeah, no doubt. If Ed is right, there'll be a big celebration tomorrow. Yeah. Ed's a smart guy. I mean, I'm not going to question him until after we get through Thanksgiving, and I'll give him through the whole day through Thanksgiving. I think that's fair enough. Make It Blue says, read today that some doctors think Trump has frontal temporal dementia because of how he drags his right leg. Um, it's either that or his diaper's full. You tend to drag a leg when you got your diapers full because you don't want shit spilling out in the middle of public with all the cameras on. But it could be a combination of both. Let's keep calling him Piggy. Well, he is a little fucking piggy. Ever take a look at his eyes? He's got these beady, squinty pink eyes that are disgusting. Let's see here. You notice too that you don't see Donald Trump out as much. You're not seeing him out at rallies or anything like that. When he is doing something out of the Oval Office, he's always sitting down. He doesn't stand up anymore. I got to think his legs are getting a little difficult to move with whatever ailments he has and whatever technology and machinery he has taped to his legs. It's got to be a little taxing for him. So I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see Donald Trump out there much. You know what's weird, though? I will say this. Have you ever noticed how famous people die on holidays a lot? Something big always happens on a holiday, especially Thanksgiving. In my life, it has been. So we'll keep our fingers crossed on that and hope to God. Every time I walk in the bedroom, my wife asks me, "Is he dead yet?" No, he's not dead yet. Um, should be careful not to insult pigs. I get it. You should be careful not to insult pigs by comparing them to Trump. Yeah, I guess in that realm, I should make my apologies to said pigs making that comparison. Uh, There's really nothing to compare Donald Trump to. Donald Trump is a species unto himself. He's greasy, he's grimy, and he's a loser. He keeps losing. Have you noticed that? Everything lately, he's been losing. Court cases, people he's trying to prosecute. Um, we've got the economy. We're all losing in the economy. And just a couple of things I'd point out. Donald Trump makes a lot of claims, makes a lot of promises. Um, have the farmers gotten their bailout yet? I think not. They've shut down Doge. Have we gotten our $5,000 check yet? No, nothing like that. How about the tariffs? The $2,000 check we're supposed to get. Well, it doesn't sound like we're going to get that. Everybody's saying, yeah, he didn't really mean that. He's talking about a tax write off or a tax cut or something. He didn't mean cash. No, he said cash. Donald Trump just says whatever comes out of his mouth. He doesn't care if it's true or not. He's just trying to get people to side with him at that moment in time. He's not thinking past the end of his nose. Um, Apparently, Israeli Defense Force soldiers are part of ICE and training ICE agents. Isn't that interesting? That's intriguing. I know people will call me anti Semitic for this, but I'm not. I have no problem with the people of Israel. I have problems with their leadership, but I'm tired of Israel having so much input and control over this country with the APAC money and the money we send to them and how everybody has this fealty toward Israel. Um, Ted Cruz was standing in front of a crowd of his constituents, and he says, I stand with Israel, and anybody that doesn't stand with Israel, I don't stand with them. Well, that's a big statement when you're in fucking Texas for such fact. He called Pritzker a fat slob today during the turkey pardoning ceremony. Well, Pritzker's really a billionaire. Pritzker's heavy set, there's no question. But I'm pretty sure Pritzker doesn't shit his pants or fall asleep in press conferences. So take that for what it's worth. Let's see here. Canada having trade with China, India, and the UAE is a big win, but Canada will have to keep an eye out on these countries. India, because they assassinate leader or some independent group. China with their deep interest with the Arctic, and the UAE are the UAE. Um, Robert Baker says historically it seems like it's been going on since the late 40s. Yeah, you're probably right about that. Let's see here. Going after him with Epstein should not preclude the Dems from questioning the fiscal policy. The deficit is out of control. Why can't they bang away down that line daily? Well, I think people are banging away at it. It could be done more, though. You're absolutely right. India is in a soft dictatorship. Modi has been in power too long, and the Middle Eastern sultans are murderers and thugs. Absolutely. However, yeah, they are walking back the 2K dose checks because they think the money should go to paying the debt. Yeah, you think? Because there's been no money that's paying the debt. Ron Johnson from Wisconsin said as much. He said um, they added $2 trillion to the debt since Donald Trump been in office. I thought we were going to be saving money. He's increased the debt. We're at 36, $37 billion. It would be nice to bring down the debt a little bit, and Donald Trump promised he would do it, so I'm waiting for that one to happen as well. Let's see here. Did Trump tell Americans not to go to the store so much? Yeah, yeah. Just don't go to the store so much. Well, that's good. That's good for uh, the merchants. However, we're in this blackout stage from today until November 2nd. We're supposed to not buy from big box stores, the Targets, the department stores, and that sort of thing. Not sure how that will work out, but if we get enough people doing it, that will certainly send a message. And then we should pick something else out for next month and just give all these people a warning shot, a shot out over the bow of what we could do if we really wanted to fucking do it. They should know already after they saw what happened to Disney and Tesla, but maybe some of these motherfuckers have to learn it the hard way. Um, let's talk about this Ukraine peace deal, more like a surrender deal. You have Slovakia and Hungary threatening sanctions if Ukraine doesn't accept it. I think the war isn't over until Putin is gone. Mortally, I mean. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And that whole situation is troubling. We found out some other news about that. There was a 28-point plan. It was ridiculous. It was all Russian put together. Um, Zelensky was never going to agree to that. Donald Trump thinks of himself as a master negotiator. Then what we find out, Howard Lutnick was on a phone call and the transcript was leaked. Basically, Lutnick was coaching the advisor in Russia how to approach Donald Trump so that he might be favorable to what they are suggesting. Um, and it's not surprising they would do that. I mean, here's what we do know about a narcissist. They're easy to manipulate if you know what to do. You flatter them and pat them on the back and tell them they're geniuses. They'll agree with anything you say. Um, but then this peace plan is sent out, and as was stated, it basically is a surrender for Ukraine to surrender to Russia. Well, Zelensky and Ukraine, they aren't going to accept that. It's just not going to be possible. They can try all they want, but it's not going to work. They won't end the war, and I think you're right. Not till Vladimir Putin is buried. And we heard about how sick he was, and he was at death's door. Nothing yet. We got to take all those reports with a grain of salt. Um, let's see here. Will says there was a volcano exploding in Ethiopia. Hadn't heard about that. Using military equipment too much will not help the debt. No, we only need to eat every other day anyway, right? Groceries are old fashioned. It's a great word, though. It's like a new word. I think I made the word up. Fucking Donald Trump. Wilfredo says Campbell's is learning. Yeah, that was a fucked up story, wasn't it? Boy, this guy, if you hadn't heard what happened, there was a conversation with the vice president of Campbell Soup, and somebody recorded it and released it because anybody can do that sort of stuff these days. It's not hard to record conversations. But anyway, this Campbell Soup vice president said that their products were only for poor people. He wouldn't eat it because it's not healthy. He was um, he was talking about the meat they use, the chicken and stuff. Said it was bio-designed. It was run off a 3D printer. I don't know if any of that's true, but when you had the vice president of Campbell Soup saying this and it gets out and everybody gets pissed off because everybody's eating Campbell Soup, especially the part where he said only poor people eat it. I wouldn't eat it. This is not going to bode well for Campbell Soup Company. This company has been around for decades and decades, but can they punch through something like this or divert or distract or explain away? I don't know how you do it. Your own guy said this shit. I doubt it. They can find out real quickly. Uh, uh, Will says it was Steve Witkoff, that real estate guy who coached the Russian. Yeah, I said Letnick. um, Lutnick, Witkoff. They're all the same fucking goofball to me, but you're right. It was Steve Witkoff, and he is a dipshit. Spacer says that's why you had Turning Point, Heritage, etc. In Europe to get people like the AFD, Nigel Farage, and the French far right elected so they can put more pressure on Zelensky to surrender. Orban is holding the EU Commission hostage for not contributing more to Ukraine. Campbell's has been around since 1860. I'm 65, born in 1960. So this company is 165 years old, and this one dipshit, this one clown, may have buried it and ended it after all that time. I'm not going to say I'm happy about it, but I'm certainly not going to say I feel sorry for it. There are plenty of other soups out there to purchase. I don't have to buy Campbell. And fucking Campbell soup is expensive. You buy a little uh, can of Campbell soup that isn't even enough for me alone to eat, and it's like $3. There are better price things to buy for lunch. But yeah, Campbell soup is having problems. When I hear this about Campbell soup, what we saw with Disney, what we saw with Tesla, what we're going to see in this current boycott, if it's effective, maybe the oligarchs, maybe the wealthy people are finally starting to get the message, and maybe they're getting nervous. This is something they've always been afraid of. Uh, if the hordes of poor people start pushing back, they're going to be in trouble. Well, they should recognize the signs right now, and they're in trouble because people are really bothered and irritated by the fact that wealthy people can get away with whatever they want, from the Epstein files down to robbing us in grocery stores. People are getting tired of it. They're pushing back. They've taken it too far. And if they're nervous, well, they fucking should be. Same with what's happening with Starbucks. Not sure if TJ is still here, but the utilization is back on again. People of Starbucks is a dipshit. He tried running for president before, and he's a joke. Yeah, I remember him. Make it blue. I absolutely hope he needs a nurse and can't get one, kind of like the lawyers. Yeah, absolutely. It's really frustrating how this Trump administration is tearing things down. I don't know if you heard on Sunday there was a report that Donald Trump was going to come out Monday with a healthcare plan. Wow, that didn't take long. Every other time he's told us it's 2 weeks, it's 2 weeks, it's 2 weeks, and then it never comes. Well, we thought we'd actually get some kind of reveal on Monday. We knew it would be stupid and ineffective and unattainable, but we knew that he might come out with something. Then at the last minute, he postponed that announcement. And the reason he postponed it was because of Republicans pushing back on it. I think it had something to do with extending the ACA subsidies for a year or two, and then whatever else he wants to talk about. But let's be honest, the Republicans don't want any kind of health care plan. They don't think you deserve a health care plan. And if the Republicans in power, you're not going to get one. But if we don't get these subsidies extended by the end of December, it's going to get real bad for people. A lot of people won't be able to afford health care at all, and tens of millions of people will lose their health care. So hopefully they figure something out between now and the end of December so that does not happen. But if it does happen, I will tell you this. If something that catastrophic happens, I think we're more likely to see more people with a stomach for universal health care or Medicare for all. That's where we need to get to ultimately. Nobody should have to decide whether to eat or get medicine or go to the doctor. That should not be. That's not the case in any other country that's close to us. We're the richest country in the world. There is no reason in the world for us to have to be doing this shit. It's all about money. It's all about um, corporate entities and PACs like the pharmaceutical lobby, the medical lobby, the insurance lobby, all of that. That's why we're still in this situation in spite of the fact that everybody else has free or universal health care. Um, they're all putting money into our members of Congress, whether they be Republican or Democrat. It's pretty equal amongst them. And they're doing whatever they can do to keep things the way they are. So the insurance companies and pharma and the medical lobby can continue to make a shitload of money and with no regard to us or what we need or how it's affecting us. Um, Canadian boycott of the USA costing the U.S. $5.7 billion warms my heart. I would have to agree with you. T. Helene, we have many clients that are HIV that will lose their copay assistance, the medication that keeps them alive. It's very expensive. They will die. Well, yeah, I mean, that's not hyperbolic. People, if what happens with the healthcare happens, there are people literally going to die. Of course, Donald Trump doesn't give a shit about that, and clearly the Republicans don't care either. We were the richest country. Now we're becoming a Trump casino. Yeah, there's some truth to that. True. I also learned in my medical sociology class that Congress allots that number of doctors who get accepted into residency and later become fully fledged doctors. So when we had a healthcare professional shortage during COVID, we can blame Trump again. Absolutely. I'm hearing rumblings of outbreaks of bird flu, polio, bacterial infections. We can be in the middle of a mess once again. Yeah, there are things cropping up. We had the measles. We're hearing about bird flu. If any of these things rise to the level of an epidemic, you know, even a pandemic, we're all in some deep trouble. These are things that have um, more serious implications than COVID did. And with COVID, remember, we lost 1 million people. So I expect it to be worse if we get something like that. And, the fact of the matter is we don't have anybody that knows how to run it properly. We don't have anybody that knows how to be a president or a government in the middle of an epidemic. My daughter health insurance through her employer went up 123 a month. A pandemic now would be absolutely terrifying. You're absolutely right. The Republicans don't care about the health care because they think only brown people will suffer and die. And they think only people in blue states, when in fact the ACA, there are more people in red states that get the ACA than there are people in blue states. Um, if they don't understand that now, they are going to get broadsided if they let it go. Let's see here. Make Blue Eye friends in New Jersey that have priced health insurance at 800 plus a month. I've heard of people's health insurance going up over 2,000 a month. That's the cost of a house, maybe more than the cost of a house, depending on where you live. It's not a matter of trying to tighten things up and pay a lot of money for your health care. Some people will just not be able to afford it at all. They won't have health care. And that's an entirely bigger problem that we will have in this country. I saw Doge was disbanded. I wonder how these other countries are feeling who elected far right leadership would establish their own form of Doge or feeling in Japan that prime minister woman had just created a Japanese Doge. Well, even though Doge did nothing for this government or for this country, I have a feeling somebody did make out. Elon Musk, Donald Trump, somebody made some money to make it worth their while. The country will suffer, the people in the country will suffer, but somebody's making money as they loot the government. And frankly, that's exactly what Donald Trump did. He's looting the government. And when this is all said and done, I'm going to be interested to see what our governmental system, our financial system looks like, because there is no rhyme or reason to what Donald Trump does. He just does whatever he feels at the moment. He's like a kid. It's like sending a bunch of toddlers into a room with paint and Sharpies and leaving them there for a couple hours. You know what's going to happen when you walk in there. And that's pretty much the same with Donald Trump's administration in power for a period of even now 11 months. I'm sure you'd find an absolute horror, a shit show of what's been done inside our government. And it's going to take some time for us to fix that. I don't want to see panic pandemic buying again at the grocery store. I worked at during COVID. People from the bigger towns were coming to buy toilet paper in a small town grocery store. Yeah, that whole toilet paper thing was absolutely ridiculous. Toilet paper isn't made in foreign countries; it's made here. People just got in their heads that we're going to have a shortage of toilet paper, and then they go buy 9 pallets of it, thinking that they did something. I know toward the end of COVID, somebody bought a whole ton, almost literally a ton of toilet paper, and then COVID ended, toilet paper became readily available, and now they wanted to try to return it. Guess what? They didn't let them return it. Fucking dumb motherfuckers out there, I gotta tell you. Wilfredo says he has a bidet. Well, hoity-toity. Um, we are coming down toward the end here. Go a few more minutes, and then we'll wrap things up. I always look forward to coming to Substack to do the lives. It's always pretty easy, pretty consistent, and always some good conversation. I was going to have a guest on the podcast tonight, but the guest had to bail on me at the last moment. I was planning to do a Substack at some point this week, so I thought, fuck it, we'll just do it right now, right here, right now. And I appreciate all of you that show up to these sorts of things. It does make it a lot easier to do these lives, and it makes it certainly a lot more interesting. Trump's big, beautiful bill, the student financial aid, puts a cap on the allowed borrowing for college, as I mentioned in the past. Students who started borrowing before July of next year are protected under the grandfather clause to continue borrowing the needed amount, but anybody after that has a cap. Isn't that convenient? Now they can't make the next generation believe them and the bullshit, so they need to stop the generation from being educated. Yeah, well, honestly, I'm not so sure that four-year college is even a good financial bet these days. You go spend a lot of money, you get deep in debt, and you get a job that doesn't pay for shit. How does that make financial sense? Bill Browder wrote Red Notice, great read. It shows Putin's takeover of Russia. We might be living some of that here. Yeah, that's uh, that's pretty possible. Yeah, absolutely. All right, I'm going to wrap things up for the Substack Live and the Rational Boomer podcast. I want to thank you for taking the time to join us here and to listen. I hope you have a great day. We will talk to you again tomorrow.